have like 2 minutes, but I think we have so much to talk about, so why not start early? Um, so I will hand over to Jorvik. He's my colleague and focusing on the gaming in the Nordic region, in the European Nordic region, and he arranged for a great panel. So Jorvik, the floor is yours.
Okay, hi everyone. My name is Jorvik. I'm based in the UK. Jorvik is not typical English name. Actually, it's a Viking name of York City. So I'm kind of Viking person. My current title is Regional Director of Tencent Cloud Northern Europe, including Nordics, UK and Ireland, and Benelux. Since joining Tencent Cloud last March, 80% of my time was spent in gaming industry. Not playing games, unfortunately, also is my vision and imagination of a working style in Tencent. Some friends joined our cloud gaming event in London last October. We received lots of positive feedbacks. So we would like to carry on this launch sharing or industry insights in 2020. This is the first round of series, so we will do more this year. Due to the virus outbreak, we have to change this event from offline to online. I believe there is upside of the impact. Otherwise, we can't find the proper place to host hundreds of audience today. And please give some applause to our organizer, Marcos, and our partners, Gimai. Okay.
Sorry to interrupt. I'm hearing from some people in the chat that there's an echo. So everyone who is not using a headset, please try to use a headset. Jorvik, I can see you're talking into the speaker, and I think this might create some echo, which is not very comfortable. So if you have your AirPods, and I know you do,
okay,
just use them. I also mute everyone right now. You can unmute yourself if you want to say something, but we want to deliver a good user experience here. So it might be good if we fix this as soon as possible.
Do you think it's the echo from my side?
Yeah, because I muted everyone.
Okay. So let me so just wait a moment. Okay.
Okay. Well then, okay, as long as Jorvik isn't here, so we use the time, so maybe everybody can introduce himself. Let's start with Robert. He was the first in the chat, so he's the first. I was first in the stream, so he's the first to get the time to introduce himself.
Hello, hi. Can you hear me? I guess you can. My name is Robert Kamphuis. I've been working with Supercell for like 7-8 years, working on server deployments, and the last few years I've been very busy with Brawl Stars, our latest global game, which needs good latency between players and the servers. So I've been improving our server setup to make that possible by having servers all over the globe. The last year, I've been in the background setting up our servers for our China launch, which is imminent in a month. So that's my involvement with Tencent Cloud, because we use Tencent Cloud in China. And maybe outside China later as well. So that's maybe a brief introduction.
Okay. So, Yang Wang, if you would be the next to just briefly introduce yourself.
Okay. I hope you guys can hear me clearly. So I'm Vincent Wang or Jun Wang from Tencent. Currently, I'm leading the Tencent Games overseas publishing. So actually, my scope is like for exporting games from China to the overseas market, and me and my team is like currently working on PUBG Mobile, which is quite successfully in a lot of markets. And I think we are also one of the biggest like overseas clients who's using Tencent Cloud. They really help us in doing a good job for connecting people around the world. actually to cater for this huge DAU game, it is quite difficult. And yes, this session. Thank you.
Marcus, can you hear me now? And how about the voice? Is it
From my
getting
side,
better?
it's okay. Much better.
Okay. Yeah. How about others?
Yes, loud and clear.
Okay, thanks. So since Linda is joining, so we can carry on our session. Okay, so I just mute Carmi. So it's very honored to host this session, and so you know, we will discuss we will do sorry. So we will in this session we will discuss and share the different challenging experience that a gaming company would face on their journey towards one of the fastest growing and the largest gaming market in the world, China. So audience friends, please raise your questions in the chat box. I will pick up 3 in the end and let our speakers answer. So first thing first, you know, 1 year ago, the regulator introduced new game approval process in China. Probably some of our friends are still in the waiting list and not clear about the next steps. Besides ISP filing or license, anti-addiction system may also confuse our friends a little bit. So shall we let our speakers share more information in terms of the regulation and how to deal with those challenges from the population perspective? So Vincent, I would like to Vincent to share the insights and your observations at first. So hand over to Vincent.
Okay. Thank you, Jorik. So actually, I would say that this like ICP filing and the other government control, it's not only happening in China. When we are publishing PUBG Mobile, we kind of noticed that in a lot of countries they have similar rules and regulations right now. So maybe to the Western countries, it's a little bit new, but I would say going east, there are a lot of countries they will enforce like some kinds of like a control, like anti-addictions, local server, maybe ICP filings. My experience, like this will become usual to a lot of publishers. So one more thing that I noticed that is like in the emerging market, a lot of governments they may not know a lot about the gaming industry, so that some kind of making them a little bit panic. So they want more control. So this is also quite different from the Western market that most of the time is the industry is like a more or less self-regulated. The government will want more control. They may even want to introduce some laws to monitor the whole gaming market. So this is may be the trend. So like to me, I have to fly to a lot of countries to talk to the government and explain to them like gaming is not a monster. So that's my own experience. So I think I would be happy to China and also to some other emerging markets.
Thanks, Vincent. So seems like this regulation seems it's not only happening in China, also happening in other countries. Oh, welcome, Linda. So I guess he's on the taxi from the Beijing train station to the hotel, I guess. Okay, so next one, Wenfeng.
Yeah, thank you.
Please share your views regarding the regulations.
Okay, so we have seen that every game that need to acquire ISBN and copyrights and trademark that in China to get being published. And also that as a foreign entity, you cannot go to China directly. You have to find a local partner to help you to enter the Chinese market. So this has always been the kind of like more and more enforced policy for the Chinese market. And also that for the ISBN, we have seen that starting from this June, everybody needs to submit ISBN to the App Store and to keep your game published in China. So we have never had that before, but this year you have to providing the ISBN to the App Store. So this is also a new policy we have seen for the Chinese market. And also that, recently we also see that there is a new policy from the local government, especially from Guangzhou government, that the servers need to be, localized. For example, that you have a global server for your game, but for China region, you have to provide a dedicated server for China region only. So this is also the new policy we have seen from the Chinese market. But overall, I believe that because of the development of the market of China, because we don't have like a age rating system for our games, so that's why that more and more policies we have seen being carried out by the government. And I think before we have the all age rating system in China, the all age games is welcomed for the Chinese market. So this is what kind of like we also seen that in the couple of months we have seen a lot of games being approved by the government, and all the casual games has been favored by the government. So that's also our kind of like trend that we have seen for the Chinese market. I think for the developers who want to go to China, that actually there were the most important part for him is that first of all that your game is more appealing for if you have all age games, but it is more appealing to the Chinese market. And the second is that you have to pick the right publisher. The publisher is very important for your success for the Chinese market. So I strongly suggest that you should pick the big publisher instead of the indie ones or smaller ones, because most of the publisher got the ICP licenses, big ones, and they don't have any troubles on the ICP licenses. And the other thing is that big publishers also got the like dedicated division handling the government relationships, which would be a plus when when getting the ISBN. So that's why I suggest you choose the bigger publisher. And also the third is that your behavior in Chinese market will also have a huge impact for the obtaining ISBN. Before the new policy coming out, that a lot of developers would love to publish their games on the iOS by themselves, and then license the Android market out to the other local publishers. But since the new policy coming out, that you can't do that anymore. And also that we have seen that several of the game companies who did not publish on the iOS before easily got their ISBN. Not easily, but they got ISBN early than the ones who have already published on iOS. So this is something that I think you should keep in mind, that follow the rules of the Chinese market. That will help you to get a better chance to for approval for the Chinese market. So this is what we have seen. Yep.
Okay. Thanks, Wenfeng. Thanks for sharing. Yeah. I think understanding the regulations in China is very important for the overseas games. Since although the China market is huge, but you have to get the approval from the regulator, and also you need to comply. The overseas games also need to comply with regulations in China, like ISP filing, like those things. Although the regulation is not 100% clear, but definitely for the overseas games, they could reach out to like Tencent Games or Youzu or Kunlun to get more clear views on those regulations, and also the application procedures. And things get the right procedure, could accelerate the publishing and deploying their games in China. So that's also my experience with some gaming companies in Europe. Okay. So I'm not sure, Linda, she's on the line.
Linda isn't currently here. I think she has some problems. It seems like the connection yesterday was much better to China than it is today. So I think we skip Linda until she's here.
Okay, so I skipped the second question to the third one. And so far, everyone should be aware China internet environment is different from the rest of the world. Also, cloud infrastructure is under the same situation. Today, we will not judge it. Our goal is to understand the challenges and find the right solutions. Supercell, as a leading mobile game company, has launched Clash of Clans, Bomb Beach, and Clash Royale in China already. And Brawl Stars is also coming on 9th of June. Maybe our friend Robert could share some experience regarding how to deal with those challenges in terms of cloud infrastructure. So,
yes,
Robert, please.
Yes, thank you. It's an interesting topic to discuss in detail. I'm not sure. Stop me if I go too detailed, right? Supercell has been publishing a few games, like you mentioned, Clash of Clans and Boom Beach in China, but the server infrastructure for these servers actually are in the US for the whole global population. The regulations have been changing, as Wenfeng briefly mentioned earlier just now, that this might not be possible going forward if you want to serve your game to Chinese players. So for Brawl Stars, things are a bit different because the nature of the game is such that you need good enough latency between your device in your hand and the game servers. So for Brawl Stars, we deploy the servers across the globe in like 8 different regions, and we use AWS for that today. But we cannot really serve the Chinese market that way. So we actually decided like a year ago that no, we need a dedicated deployment for China. So we plan to use AWS in China for that because it's easier for us to move what we have, a copy for the Chinese market. But we want to serve the players the best we can. And the AWS regions in China are in the north, in Ningxia and Beijing. And we wanted to be further south. And we very quickly came that, yeah, we need to look into Tencent cloud deployments. So that's what I've been working on, working with Jorvik and the team on porting our infrastructure deployments to Tencent cloud. And we are now ready to launch with servers in Ningxia and Beijing on AWS, and then running on Tencent cloud in Shanghai and Guangzhou and Chengdu. And we estimate that probably it's going to be like 50-50 in terms of servers. And most of the battles will be on Tencent cloud. So we actually had the fun of figuring out how to get our existing infrastructure ported to run on Tencent cloud. And we use Terraform for all our deployments. It's an open source tool, among other things. We use the open source versions where you describe what you want to have, and then you say, make it so. And then the tool will deploy all the infrastructure you have described. So what I ended up doing is, I think of it as I translated a book in Swedish to German, while at the same time learning the language. So that's a bit how I look at it. You need to go through every page. Every line there is a description like, this is a DNS record. This is an autoscaling group. This is a load balancer. You need to translate those and then get the equivalent to run on Tencent Cloud. So once you got going with that, it's actually pretty straightforward to migrate everything across. Once you have done this once, it's just a matter of, and you have it in 3 different regions, which is excellent. So we now have the infrastructure running there. That's on a higher level. In detail, there are more details to sort out, right? Like we also have Java code, which talks to the cloud infrastructure to change the size of autoscaling groups, things like that, to adapt. Those you need to change as well. So on the technical point, that's what it takes for us to basically translate the Terraform things we have and adapt to those few Java SDK calls we have for autoscaling groups. And what else? Object store S3, we have battle recordings we store there. We store those in the cloud object storage of Tencent Cloud as well. And then the resizing of autoscaling group mostly. That's, I think, roughly what we do. DNS records, I think. We do that programmatically. So all in all, it's lengthy because it's one person doing it part-time for most of the time, waiting for the actual approval of the game to go through. But overall, it's not that complicated. And it's I'm very curious to see how on the 9th of June this launch takes off and how the people will like the game. And do I have enough service? Can it handle the load? That's going to be interesting.
Yeah, thanks, Robert. So yeah, we did lots of fun, translate language from AWS to Tencent Cloud. I quite like your description between the AWS and Tencent Cloud. Since Tencent Cloud is ranked as the 5th largest cloud provider in the world, and from technical perspective, they are similar. But actually translating from AWS to Tencent Cloud, I have to say it's not easier as we thought. But since we were getting familiar with Tencent Cloud language, it is much easier for Supercell to launch the battle server in China, especially in Shanghai, Guangzhou, maybe in future in some other regions. Yeah, that's true. So maybe that's a point we could have some Western games when they want to deploy their games in China to get better infrastructure resources and network connections to the game lovers. Yeah. Okay. Since Linda is up and down, maybe I have to jump to the question session, and I received a question from Rolf, and his question is maybe this question to Robert. Are you only running the game server itself on Tencent and AWS in China, or also the backend services?
We run everything in China. The Brawl Stars deployment is like a complete independent of the global games. I think we only do some aggregate events collection, which we then add to our global pool of information about usage of different features of the game, but that's sort of offline transfer of data. So the whole backend, the whole database is there. The reason why we run in AWS in China is because we are using Aurora. It's their hosted database service, and we're a small team, so we need to pick our battles. And we quickly decided that that's not one of the battles we want to have. So we want to use Aurora on Tencent, on the AWS. So we run everything there. So the other games we have, like Clash of Clans and Boom Beach, they are not using that model now, and they're now actually studying how to adapt to the changing regulations and find out how strict these regulations are for existing games. So those games might also have to adapt, and for example, might even come to migrate players from the global game to a dedicated separate game environment, which sounds like a horrible technical challenge to sort out. But yeah, for Brawl, because we started late, we have the downside of having the new regulations valid for us. And on the good side is then that actually we don't have any legacy trouble. But I see more questions. Should I answer all of them?
I think Jovic is muted. I can't hear him. I don't know about you guys. There are more questions, and I have Tony Chen. He wants to ask a question, so I'll add him to the group. And let's see his question. So let's hope he's not from China. So internet is better right now.
Hold on. Yeah. How about right now?
Jorvik is back. Yay.
Yeah, because since I have to.
I tried too many times to apply, but it's like failed. Yeah.
Oh, we have Linda and WeChat here. That's great. So maybe Linda can share something.
Okay, so
Yeah, hi, I won.
yeah.
Yeah.
So Linda, I tell you that I tell you the image. I put my cell phone in front of my face, so everyone can imagine you joining the session. Okay, please say hi to everyone.
Yeah. Everyone, hello. It's so great to meet you like this kind of ways. Yeah.
Okay, Linda. So since we are running out of time, so I have to ask the second question. So a report published early this year finds that 26% of Chinese internet users watch esports at least once per month, and this is more than double the rate of the audience in the US and Western Europe. So I just wondering what's the major difference behind the esports market insights and how to attract more integration exposure while live streaming platform in China, including esports content. So everyone knows this belongs to your professional area. Please share your ideas.
Yeah, actually, I'm preparing a lot of stuff to present and to tell you much more about my position, the pages. But right now, I think everyone, you witnessed the history moments because I just arrived at Beijing from Wuhan, actually. So I'm so sorry about that. But it's just I want to highlight some points about the brief I want to talk about. If anything you want to know, maybe you can add my linking offline, so also the WeChat offlines. I'd like to share much more. Actually, last year I presented to roadshow to Euro and also the United States for over 30 game companies. For 30 game companies, they asked me the same questions. So I want to highlight some 3 pages about to explain why Chinese game content and especially esports game content are much more high attractive than the Western audience. First, because so Marcus didn't present a PPT, right? So just me to say, or
yeah, just for you to say because we're nearly run out of time.
Okay, so I have to quickly say the numbers of audience of the esports. Number 1 is Chinese core market. And I can see, because I live in the United States for 4 years, I can see the number 2 is just USA and Brazil. And I really want to know why. And the second key metrics I highlight is the mapping of recognition of esports is a sport, this kind of concept. I found interesting one is still the China. The number 2 is Russia. And the rest of the countries, Vietnam, Korea, France, Brazil, and US and Japan. I think if you read this part, you can find the interesting part because the Twitch is the most biggest and the massive live streaming part for this part. Why China still attract the most peak audience in the world. So it's like I research for several kind of ways. I give us some conclusions. Includes, I think Chinese esports can go national first and can go global second. Because the Chinese emotional demand is very much, especially with young people. I think most of you knows us, we are just one child birth. So actually, the most of the children and also the students, they're very young and they're lonely sometimes because they cannot play with their sisters and also the brothers. So that's why they want to find the connection, also want to find a company from the users on the internet. And the mobile game is kind of the best ways to communicate and also to social, even to battle. So I think the keywords of the Chinese emotional demand, especially on the game section, I can describe as a sensory stimulation, emotional connection, and a social and a company. And also we can see the history because the competitive content through PC to mobile. In China, the most popular one is League of Legends, AOV, Dota 2, FPS game, and CSGO. You can find that kind of a game also combine some like social sectors. So that's why I believe that most of the young children and also the young generation, they are really addicted to that kind of games, and they really enjoy this kind of games who can contribute much more esports content as well. And also I believe that most of you can understand the Chinese government support these esports very much, because I think the last year always I think that each of the kind of the cities, they have like a esports admin government to support this kind of this kind of behavior or something like this. And especially because I came from Wuhan, I believe that we have a big competitor named Douyu. And if anyone who visited Wuhan, and also I want to invite you to visit Wuhan as well, you can see every single university, they got an esports street. So people, the young generation, they want to making friends and also make leisure time there. And also because the government supports, so we actually right now have much more professional education for those young generation, like my university, because my university, they even set up an esports content module for the young generation and for the graduation students. And also, I think the most part related to us is especially on the live streaming platform. It's like live streaming tipping business model is Chinese character, which could help esports business monetization. I think the scale of business will be more activity and also popular. So actually, I want to answer this question in a very short way, because I think I'm arriving some like a spot and I will leave to test the coronavirus immediately. Hello?
Yeah.
Yeah. And because I want to give much more part about like esports content with cloud gaming much more, but I think this is not the right time. And anyway, thanks for the invitation. And maybe next time I will share much more my insight and also my professional reports about that. Yeah, thank you, everyone. I'm sorry about this kind of ways.
Linda, maybe after this session, you could share your deck to us. Then we can broadcast your content to every audience. And
yeah, sure.
Yeah. Okay. So since we nearly run out of time, so thanks to every panel speakers and thanks every audience. And we didn't imagine this connection issue for the audience in China. Maybe next round we would use our own meeting services. Tencent meeting or Weibo meeting as our international version. So the connection is really good. So next round, Marcos, maybe we could use our Tencent meeting for this webinar.
Yeah, but I tried already my best. I already tried my best.
So thanks, Linda. Thanks, Wenfeng, Vincent, Robert, Marcos, everyone.
I mean, it's great. It was a great discussion. I think especially for the audience, we learned a lot about how to deal with China. We all know China is a great opportunity for everyone. It has a lot of potential, but it's also challenging. But what would the world be without challenges? It would be boring, right? So I think it's good if we sit together, find solutions, and work to find solutions for our challenges. And I think this is what we're trying to do here today, to show you or to show everyone the way things could be if we work together. And thanks to Linda for being so creative, calling over WeChat. And we did not anticipate these kind of challenges today. Thanks again to the panelists. And